All right, Errol and Brandon here again, talking about the points of emphasis for NFHS basketball 2025-26. And we're just going to walk through this stuff, read through it, and add some commentary to it. Brandon, let's have you go ahead and start.
Yeah, so we're at contact on the ball handler, which has seemed to be a point of emphasis for the last few years, and so obviously they're really wanting us to hone in on this and get this called. And so, while hand checking remains a known concern, other forms of illegal contact must also be recognized and penalized. Defenders often use their hips, torsos, or other parts of the body to displace, redirect, and then the key word for me in watching is the impede a ball handler's freedom of movement. These tactics must be identified and addressed in accordance with the rules. And I'm going to kind of skim through this a little bit. I want to just say on the second sentence of the second paragraph, not all fouls committed in the closing moments of a contest are necessarily intentional. Determinations regarding intentional fouls must be played on the act itself rather than on the intent or verbal instructions from a coaching staff. Just because of a coach yells foul, red, or scramble, that does not necessarily mean it's an automatic classification of a intentional foul, right? So if the contact constitute or is a legitimate attempt to play the ball or to defend an opponent, either on the ball or away from it, it should be out adjudicated as a common foul. The strategic intent of one team to stop the clock must be weighed against the opposing team's interest in allowing the clock to run. Conversely, contact that is excessive clearly removes an opponent's apparent advantage or does not constitute a legitimate basketball play should be classified as an intentional foul. Instructional emphasis must be placed on teaching players how to commit fouls within the parameter of the rules. So I just have a couple comments on that one since we just read it. I like that last sentence and the fact that it is on the burden of the coaching staff to teach how to commit fouls that are within the parameters, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I get that we're going to have fouling in the last part of the game to stop the clock, and just because they yell red or foul doesn't mean it's intentional. But to me, the burden does go on the player to really know how to commit a foul versus intentional. Any comments on that, Errol?
Yeah, so I don't like to let the words complicate things. Just keep it simple. Is it a legitimate basketball play or is it not? If it's legitimate, let it go. It's just freaking basketball. If it's
Yeah.
not legitimate and it doesn't look like basketball, then I'd probably lean towards intentional foul.
Yeah, I mean, an example would be if you have, and we see it, if you have a kid, excuse me, that's going behind and doing a two-hand shove to the back, causing the person to have their arms wide open, fleeing, that is obviously an intentional foul. It has to be called.
Yeah, I mean safety can come into play there as well. If he's going full speed just because the time is of the essence and he's playing like two-hand touch football, as long as he doesn't hurt the player, if he barely touches him and he's going for a foul, I'm probably going to let it go unless his or the other player's safety is at risk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So we have to judge intent and the actual results of the play. So see the whole play, right? And ask yourself, was a legit play a legit basketball play? Were they attempting to play the ball? But if they are attempting to stop the clock, it's not intentional, just if their intention is to stop the clock at this point. It's only intentional or ruled intentional, again, if it's excessive or clearly removes a clear advantage and it's not a legitimate basketball play, as it says. That's when you call it intentional. Good wording there,
yeah,
but use your eyes. Use your
right.
eyes in this
It's got to pass
situation.
the eyeball test.
Yeah. Okay. Bench decorum, communication, and player altercations. This one's always good because this is one of things we always want to get right, and we can be preventative as officials by doing this as well, and in recognizing this rather than only focusing on the players on the floor. We also have the bench and coaches and score table and everything. And so we can help manage this by being just aware of our surroundings. So here's what it says here. Ongoing concerns have been noted regarding bench decorum and proper communication with officials and incidents involving player altercations. All team personnel, including coaching staff and bench players, are expected to uphold a standard of sportsmanship through disciplined behavior, clear expectations, and structured preparation. So a keyword in preparation, something I like to do in every gym I go into, um, is I like to make sure that at the very least the table is in the middle of the floor, whenever possible, and the benches are outside the 28-foot line, so that we clearly establish what the coaching box is, and we're able to, so that we don't have 10 players sitting right next to the bench. Okay.
Yeah.
So make sure that it's structured and everybody can know the expectation as to where things actually can start. Bench decorum remains a significant point of emphasis. Officials are expected to take a proactive role, not a passive role. I love that word, proactive role, in managing coach and bench
Mhm.
behavior, particularly regarding the conduct of the head coach and assistant coaches. And so proactive doesn't mean you have to be a jerk about it. It just means you need to know what is expected and how to start to at least um, box in a coach's box, and how and when to talk to them. So I wouldn't try and force a conversation with a coach, but I'd be happy to answer questions that they may have.
And I
Um,
think it addresses that here on kind of the questioning versus the
yeah,
yelling.
yeah. Uh, Effective communication between coaches and officials should be established prior to the contest and maintained throughout. Professional and respectful tone is expected. When reasonable rule-based inquiries, that's kind of how they put it there, and inquiries are made by a coach. For example, can you watch the screening? A simple verbal acknowledgement or nonverbal gesture, a head nod, whatever, is generally sufficient. Rules-based questions such as, what did my player do wrong on that illegal screen, are appropriate and should receive a clear and informative response. And I would even say use the proper verbiage on that. These interactions support the educational purpose of the game. In contrast, rhetorical questions or comments not seeking clarification, for example, what's it going to take to get a foul call? Or it's getting rough out there. That's just
We
a
hear that one.
commentary. Yeah, it's
We
getting
hear
a
that one.
lot of contact, a lot of contact. Thanks, coach. Uh, doesn't require a
Yeah,
response.
one thing on that arrow, I was just saying, I think good officials respect a good question by a coach and will give them the courtesy of an answer. Doesn't have to be long, it should be brief. And like you said, use some correct terminology to them, and then move on. But as an official, we just need to be respectful and be where we can at least have a little bit of a discussion. Where vice versa on the yelling is, what is it going to take a foul, or it's getting rough out there, we just should ignore, move on.
Yeah, so if like for example, if you're calling a guy for holding down on the end line as the lead official, and then you go report the foul, of course the coach can't see it from his angle. If the coach isn't asking, you don't need to go over there and tell him he was grabbing his jersey. But
Yeah,
if the coach does ask, yeah, go over there and tell him he's grabbing his jersey.
yeah,
If you're saying he pushed him a little bit or he was blocking him or he hit him on the way in, no, you don't need to be super descriptive and display what the player was actually doing. You can literally just say, Coach, the defender wasn't legal. They may do a follow-up. Hey, how was he not legal? Then you can get into some more, but keep it short and sweet. And like I said, try and use the proper words to keep it as short and sweet with the least amount of words possible. That's what I would say. Try and keep it short and sweet. Why don't you take the
yeah.
next one, Coach on the floor?
Rule 10.5
Delineates.
delineates, thank you. I had to use my bifocals to get up there. The privileges and restrictions for head coaches and bench personnel. Only the head coach is permitted to stand and provide instructions to players during live ball play. This communication must be carried out in a professional and sportsman-like manner. All other personnel, including assistant coaches and team members not actively participating in play, must remain seated except during rule allowed situations, for example, during timeouts or spontaneous reactions to exceptional play. This emphasis does not restrict enthusiasm, but to preserve order and promote respect for the game. Adherence to coaching box boundaries is essential to maintaining safety and fairness. An increasing number of incidents have been observed involving coaches stepping onto the court during live play. Such behavior introduces potential safety concerns and must be addressed through rule enforcement.
So here's something we can do to be great game managers. I don't, some people like that terminology, some people don't, but I like to manage the game in such a way, in a preventative way, where, for example, in a timeout, can the players stand or can they not? I want to go over there and tell them. Sometimes they just go straight to their bench as if it's a full 1 minute timeout and it's a 30-second timeout. So we want to go over there and tell them that and be preventative in that deal. Tell
Yeah.
them, hey, it's just a 30, right? Give them the signal, be talking and telling them at the same time, signal and 30-second timeout. Get up off the bench, guys, get up off the bench. Or vice versa. Hey, it's a full 60-second timeout, right? Get our hands out with our hands open. Full timeouts are hands open. This is a double foul. This is a full timeout, right? We want to give proper signals so they know what's going on and be preventative so that well, not that we can manage the game, but they know that we know what we're doing as well and can make things a lot more efficient. So we're not turning an hour and 15-minute game into a 2.5 hour game.
Totally, I agree. You know, the other thought that came to mind that I do see a lot is that sometimes we have assistant coaches that are violating. They're standing up, they're yelling, or they're coming on the floor. To me, that's just, we can't accept that. It just said there the head coach shouldn't be coming onto the floor, let alone the assistant coach. And I think we need to, manage that very quickly and set the expectation. And I think that's a good clarification right there on that.
Yeah, I would try and just talk to them and encourage them to get off, the
Yeah.
floor if it's not egregious. But then if it's disrupting play or especially disrupting players or an official and getting in their way, that's when you might want to just blow the whistle and give a quick warning.
Yeah.
You can do something like that. Give a bench warning or a coach warning, whatever. Usually a
And I
bench
think the
warning.
bench warnings are very effective.
Yeah,
You don't have to go right to a technical, but the bench warning is a good way to go.
yeah, yeah. All right. Responsibilities during a fight. I'll take that one. The head coach holds primary responsibility for the prevention and de-escalation of potential altercations. I love that. Let me highlight that. The head coach, it's not the officials that hold the primary responsibility. We hold responsibility, but not the primary responsibility, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we want to stay in our primary, right, which is on the court and managing the game. So we can do things preemptively at this point, but it's the head coach's primary responsibility. Proactive planning is expected, including the designation of specific duties for assistant coaches in the event of a fight. One assistant coach may be tasked with this is just a good preventative measure and advice for coaches. Have one assistant coach that's tasked, at least one, with managing on-court players, while the other coach or other coaches be assigned to controlling the bench personnel. Role assignments or such role assignments serve to prevent mass disqualifications and maintain order during disruptive incidents. So hopefully coaches are doing this. Why don't you
Well,
take
now we
that?
shift to fake being fouled. And this isn't going away, Errol. This is here to stay. Obviously, this is becoming more of an issue in the game, and we want to prevent it. So here we are again with a point of emphasis on this, and there is some clarification, and maybe we'll take turns on which one of these are in the scenarios they provide. But the Rule 449, warning for fake being fouled to address unsporting acts where players simulate illegal contact in an attempt to deceive officials and gain the competitive advantage. This includes embellishing contact on a block or charge play during a shot attempt or using movements such as a head bob to draw a foul. This compromises the integrity of the game. I think that's very important. It does really water down the game when we have a lot of flopping. And it places an undue influence on officiating decisions. So we've introduced the signal, which is just one time down with our arms. So this has been reaffirmed with a renewed focus on consistent auto education across all levels of play. Faking being fouled may occur by offense or defense and must be addressed in accordance with approved procedures and NFHS guidelines. So here are three. You want to start with the first one, Errol, the head bob?
Sure. Three types of faking being fouled. The head bob is an infraction that occurs when a player is in control of the ball. He or she simulates contact by quickly snapping the head backward. In this case, the faking signal should be displayed immediately. That's the hands down, right? Hands down. And whistle should be sounded concurrently, which means at the same time. Um, if this is the first offense for that team, a team warning is reported. So pretty simple. Since the infraction occurs while the player is in control, the offending team retains possession and it's awarded a throw in at one of the four designated spots in the front court or back court. So I guess one of the eight designated spots in either, depending on the location of the warning. Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I mean we can recognize the head bob pretty easily.
See an obvious head bob, we're going to kill it.
Yeah.
We're going to make the signal and blow our whistle, right? Tweet, 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 boom. One of the two.
If,
I'm like, while
if
it's
you need to
happening,
see an
tweet, tweet.
example of a head bob, do you remember the movie Rocky 3?
Oh yeah, yeah. He's
Remember
fighting
Clubber
Clubber Lang.
Lang?
Yeah, yeah. He
That
was a head
yeah.
bobber.
Yep. We would have done the flop violation to him.
Yeah, especially in the second fight. Yeah.
The act of shooting, if a shooter simulates being fouled, typically by falling to the floor without contact, after releasing the ball, the signal 15 should be displayed immediately. However, and this is a change to this year, and you highlighted the whistle should be withheld. Play should be stopped upon the occurrence of any of the following: the try is successful, the defensive team gains control of the ball, the offensive team secures a rebound but does not immediately attempt to score, or it's a dead ball situation occurs for any other reason. So again, the change from last year where we were killing it immediately if it was an offensive player committing the flop. Now, in the act of shooting, we're holding the whistle until one of the four occurrences take place.
I love this clarification because last year when we implemented this, it gave us the option of blowing it immediately and then going to an AP arrow, which is fine until you realize what the result of that could be. It could actually penalize the defense by giving the ball right back to the offense
Absolutely.
on a loose
Yeah.
ball or after a try, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I like this a lot better.
Me
So
too.
love it. While on defense, sorry, anything else you want to say on that?
Nope.
All
That's
right.
it.
While on defense, if a defensive player simulates being fouled, for example, falling out of the floor without contact, that doesn't happen in this area, does it? Uh,
No, not at all.
the faking foul signal should be displayed immediately with no whistle sounded. Play should be stopped under the same conditions listed above for shooters. So when the defense does it, we're going to make the signal and then wait until there's a dead ball, basically, or a change of possession and gain team control. So, yeah, pretty self-explanatory there as well. Any comments there?
Yeah. No, I think it's good that they clarified this last year. It was a little bit tough in the first year. Now, the second year going into it, hopefully we've got more experience on this and can administrate it properly.
Yeah, I only saw it called a couple, not even a handful of times, less than a handful of times, maybe three or four times all year that I actually saw it in person. I saw a handful of them on video, of course, but yeah, it's not going to be a super common thing, which is a great thing. It means two things. Players and coaches are aware of it, so they're not doing it as much. And the other thing is, we're looking for it and could show that we didn't understand it quite fully as a group of officials. But I'm hoping we don't call this a lot. I'm hoping if there's contact, we call an actual foul or something like that.
Right.
But this is there. It's a tool in our belts that we can take out if and when we need it. And that's what it's there for. Any other thoughts from you?
No, other than you're much better looking in person.
Great thought. All right. See you,
That's
everybody.
it.